Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of a memory where the past hums like a distant engine and the present feels as thin as the air at 60 stories up. My name is Naomi, and at 67 I've lived long enough to know that life doesn't always unfold the way you expect. I've got lines on my face that map out decades of laughter and worry, and a heart that still stumbles over what it wants to say. I'm married to Thomas, a man who's been my anchor for over 40 years. He's in his late 60s now, a drone technician with hands that are steady even when the wind howls, and a face weathered by time and too many hours squinting into the sun. His passion is capturing the world from angles most folks never dream of, cityscapes snatched from impossible heights, the sprawl of concrete and glass turned into art through the lens of his machines. For Thomas, flying those drones isn't just work, it's his escape, his way of rising above the mess of life down below. He often asks me to join him on these rooftop expeditions, and though my knees protest the climb, I go. There's something about seeing him so alive up there, so focused, that reminds me of the man I fell for all those years ago. Thomas is a creature of routine, a man who finds peace in the hum of his drones and the quiet precision of his work. Every move he makes is deliberate, every word measured. But then there's Jesse, Thomas's younger colleague, who's the opposite in every way. Jesse's in his early 30s, with an easy smile that seems to defy gravity itself, and a carefree way about him that cuts through the tension like a warm breeze. Up on those high, lonely rooftops, his laughter is a lifeline, echoing over the edge and bouncing off the steel beams. He's the kind of person who makes you forget the ache in your bones, even if just for a moment. When the three of us are together up there, it's a strange balance. Thomas's intensity, Jesse's lightness, and me, somewhere in between, watching it all unfold like I'm both part of it and apart from it. Thomas and I, we've built a life together, brick by brick, over 4 decades. Our marriage is a sturdy thing, rooted in shared history, late-night conversations that turned into early mornings, dreams we chased and others we buried. But there are silences between us now, gaps that weren't there before, or maybe I just didn't notice them until recently. I don't know if it's age or time or something else, but there's a part of me that yearns for a spark, a flicker of something I can't quite name. I keep that thought tucked away, though, hidden behind the smile I give Thomas when he turns to me with a drone controller in hand, asking if I'm ready to see the world from above. The city below us, it's a beast of its own. I've lived here for decades, and yet every time I'm up here it feels like I'm seeing it for the first time. The climb to this rooftop was no small feat, let me tell you. My knees were screaming with every step up those narrow, winding stairs, the cold metal railing biting into my palm as I steadied myself. Thomas was ahead of me, his gear slung over his shoulder like it weighed nothing, his step sure and steady, despite the years etched into his frame. He didn't look back, not once, his mind already on the drone he'd soon send soaring into the sky. Behind me, Jesse kept the mood light, tossing out one-liners about how we were scaling Mount Everest without the glory. His voice bounced off the concrete walls, a welcome distraction from the ache in my legs, and I couldn't help but chuckle, even as I huffed for breath. Finally, we reached the roof, and I stepped out onto a stark expanse of cold gray concrete, dotted with rusted rebar sticking out like skeletal fingers reaching for something they'll never grasp. The wind hit me immediately, sharp and relentless, whipping at the scarf around my neck and tugging strands of my gray hair loose. I tightened it with a shiver, my eyes squinting against the gusts as I took in the view. Below us, the city hummed, a distant, constant drone of traffic weaving through streets that looked like tiny veins from this height. The horizon stretched out endlessly, a hazy promise of something more, something beyond the concrete jungle we call home. It's breathtaking in a way that catches you off guard, no matter how many times you've seen it. Thomas didn't waste a second. He was already kneeling near the center of the roof, unpacking his drone equipment with the kind of precision that comes from years of practice. His hands moved deftly, assembling parts without so much as a glance at the instructions he's long since memorized. I could hear him muttering to himself about wind speeds and camera angles, his voice low and focused, completely lost in his own world. I've always admired that about him, how he can shut out everything else when he's got a mission. But standing there, watching him, I felt like an outsider peeking into a place I don't quite belong. His passion is a language I've never fully learned to speak, and though I'm here with him, I'm not really part of it. I'm just watching. I wandered closer to the edge, where Jesse was already standing, his hands shoved deep into his pockets, his posture relaxed as if he were lounging on a beach instead of perched on a rooftop 60 stories up. He glanced over at me with that easy grin of his shoulder brushing mine as he pointed out a cluster of buildings in the distance. "See that tower over there, Naomi? That's where I had my first job. Worst coffee in the city, but the view from the break room wasn't half bad." His voice had a playful edge to it, like he was always half joking, half teasing, and I found myself smiling despite the wind biting at my cheeks. But as we stood there, side by side, something shifted in the air between us. Maybe it was the way the city seemed to hold its breath below, or the way the wind howled louder, drowning out everything but the sound of my own pulse. Jesse stepped even closer, his presence suddenly feeling less like a casual companion and more like an intrusion, a force I couldn't ignore. The wind roared in my ears, sharp and insistent, as if it were trying to warn me of something I couldn't yet see. Then he spoke, his voice dropping low, almost a whisper, charged with something I couldn't quite name. "The wind's changed. So have I." Before I could even process what he meant, before I could step back or find the words to deflect, his hand was on my waist, firm and uninvited, pulling me toward him with a strength that caught me off guard. My breath hitched as his lips brushed against my neck, a shocking, electric contact that sent a jolt through every nerve in my body. I froze, rooted to the cold concrete beneath my feet, unable to move or think. The roughness of his stubble grazed my skin, a stark contrast to the icy wind whipping around us, and my heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. I glanced over at Thomas, just meters away. His back turned as he fiddled with the drone's controls, completely oblivious to the storm unfolding behind him. The city sprawled below us, a silent witness to this moment of betrayal, its endless lights flickering like they knew my secret before I even did. Inside, I was a mess of chaos. Part of me screamed to push Jesse away, to step back and reclaim the boundaries I'd spent a lifetime building. But there was another part, darker and hidden, buried beneath years of routine and restraint, that didn't resist. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I let it happen. I stood there, caught in the pull of something forbidden, under the relentless wind that seemed to howl louder with every second that passed. The silence between us was deafening, every rustle of clothing, every shallow breath, amplified, as if it could shatter the fragile illusion of normalcy we'd been clinging to. My scarf fluttered against my shoulder, a useless shield against the cold and the weight of what was happening. I could smell the faint scent of his cologne, mixed with the metallic tang of the rooftop air, and it overwhelmed me, drowning out the distant hum of the city below. Guilt clawed at me, sharp and unrelenting, as I thought of Thomas, so close yet so far away in his own world. 40 years of marriage, of shared mornings and quiet nights, flashed through my mind, and I felt like I was betraying not just him, but the woman I thought I was. That Naomi, the steady, dependable one who always knew right from wrong, seemed like a stranger now. And yet beneath the guilt, there was something else, something I hadn't felt in years. Desire, raw and unfiltered, coursing through me like a current I couldn't control. There was a strange exhilaration, too, a thrill at breaking free from the monotony of my life, from the silences that had grown between Thomas and me. Up here, on this rooftop, with the wind tearing at everything, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in decades. It was wrong, I knew it was wrong, but in that moment, I didn't care. I was caught in the eye of a storm I hadn't seen coming, and I didn't know how to step out of it. As quickly as it began, it ended. Jesse pulled away, his smirk unreadable, a mix of triumph and something I couldn't decipher. I stood there, trembling, my hands fumbling to smooth my scarf, as if I could erase what had just happened, as if adjusting the fabric could rewind time. My legs felt unsteady beneath me, like the concrete itself was shifting, threatening to give way. My mind raced, a jumble of half-formed thoughts and questions I didn't have answers to. What had I just done? What did this mean? My heart is still hammering in my chest as I force myself to move, to walk away from the edge of the roof and back toward Thomas. Each step feels heavier than the last, like I'm dragging the weight of what just happened with me, an invisible anchor tied to my ankles. I can still feel the ghost of Jesse's touch on my skin, the warmth of his breath against my neck, and it's all I can do to keep my face from betraying me. I try to school my expression into something neutral, something normal, but my hands are trembling as I shove them into the pockets of my coat. The wind bites at my cheeks, sharp and accusing, as if it knows the secret I'm carrying and is determined to strip it bare for the world to see. Thomas is still crouched over his equipment when I reach him, his broad shoulders hunched against the gusts, his fingers moving with that same meticulous care I've watched for years. I stand there for a moment, just out of his line of sight, trying to steady my breathing. My chest feels tight, like there's a fist clenched around my lungs, and when I finally open my mouth to speak, my voice comes out with a quiver I can't hide. "How's the drone looking, Tom?" I ask, the words sounding hollow even to my own ears, like they belong to someone else. He doesn't look up right away, his focus locked on the small screen in his hands, but I notice the way his shoulders tense. Just a fraction, a subtle shift I've learned to read after decades of living with him. It's the kind of change most people wouldn't catch, but I do. I always have. And right now, it sends a shiver down my spine that has nothing to do with the cold. After what feels like an eternity, he straightens up, and the drone lifts off with a low, steady buzz that cuts through the tension hanging between us. The sound is almost a relief, something to focus on other than the storm raging inside me. I watch the little machine rise into the gray sky, its blades a blur against the backdrop of the city below, and for a fleeting second, I wish I could climb aboard and disappear into the clouds. Thomas finally turns to face me, and when his eyes meet mine, there's something there I haven't seen in years, a hardness, a sharpness that makes my stomach twist. They're unreadable beyond that, a wall I can't see past, and it unnerves me more than I can say. He holds out the controller, his movements slow and deliberate, and as his fingers brush against mine, There's an odd weight to the contact, like he's testing something, searching for a reaction I'm not sure I can hide. "Your turn to hold the altitude," he says, his voice flat, neutral in a way that feels anything but. "I'll watch how you do it." The words hang in the air, heavy with something I can't quite grasp, like a riddle I'm supposed to solve but don't have the first clue about. I take the controller from him, my hands clumsy with nerves, the unfamiliar weight of it slipping slightly in my grip. My fingers shake as I try to focus on the tiny screen showing the drone's view. A bird's-eye sweep of the city, all sharp angles and endless gray. But my mind isn't on the drone, not really. It's on Thomas, on the way he's standing just a little too still, his gaze fixed on me instead of the sky. I can feel the heat of it, the weight of his attention pressing down on me like a physical thing, and it takes everything I have not to flinch under it. Jesse is off to the side now, his earlier boldness replaced by an awkward stillness, his hands shoved deep into his pockets as he stares out at the horizon, like he's trying to disappear into it. I don't dare look at him, don't dare risk catching his eye, because I'm not sure what I'd see there or what Thomas would see in me if I did. The wind picks up again, stronger this time, tugging at my scarf and the hem of my coat with insistent fingers. It mirrors the chaos inside me, a storm that's tearing through every thought, every feeling, leaving nothing untouched. I'm gripping the controller so tight my knuckles are white, but I can't seem to steady the drone on the screen. It wobbles, dipping lower than it should, the city tilting at a nauseating angle through the camera's lens. My breath catches in my throat as I fumble with the sticks, trying to regain control, but my hands won't stop shaking. The wind howls louder, a relentless force that seems to mock my every move. And then I hear Thomas's voice, low and sharp, slicing through the gusts like a blade honed to perfection. "You're losing altitude, Naomi. Can't keep it steady, can you?" His words hit me harder than the wind ever could. There's a double edge to them, a meaning that goes beyond the drone, and it cuts deep into the raw, exposed parts of me I've been trying to hide. It's not just about the machine in the sky. It's about me, about us, about the stability I've shattered with a single, reckless moment. My stomach churns as I glance up from the screen, meeting his eyes. They're cold, piercing, like he can see straight through the flimsy walls I've thrown up around my guilt. There's no warmth there. No trace of the man who used to look at me with quiet affection over morning coffee. Just a knowing, a silent accusation that pins me in place. He doesn't say Jesse's name, doesn't raise his voice, but I feel the weight of what he's not saying in every hard line of his face, in the way his jaw tightens just so. It's as if he's carved out of stone, unyielding, and I'm crumbling under the pressure of his gaze. I open my mouth to respond, but the words trip over themselves, clumsy and broken. "I'm sorry, Tom. I didn't mean to..." I stop, choking on the rest, because what am I even apologizing for? The drone or everything else? The truth hovers on the tip of my tongue, bitter and heavy, but I can't spit it out. I can't name what I've done, not here, not now, with the wind screaming around us and the city sprawling below like a judge waiting to pass sentence. My voice fades into nothing, swallowed by the roar of the air, and I feel smaller than I ever have, standing there on this vast, empty rooftop, with nowhere to hide. Thomas doesn't reply. Instead, he steps forward, his movements sharp and precise, and takes the controller from my trembling hands. There's no gentleness in the gesture, no reassurance, just a cold efficiency that makes my chest ache. He adjusts the controls with a flick of his wrists, and I watch on the screen as the drone surges upward, soaring higher and higher until it's just a speck against the gray sky, as if he's sending it away from this moment, away from me. It's like he's trying to escape the weight of what's hanging between us, to put distance between himself and the mess I've made. I stare at the empty screen, my hands now useless at my sides, and the silence that settles over us is heavier than the wind, thicker than the tension I've been drowning in all day. It presses down on me, suffocating, and I can't find a way to break it. Jesse shifts somewhere off to my left, his boots scuffing against the concrete, but I don't look at him. I can't. His presence is a live wire, crackling with the memory of what happened just minutes ago, and I know if I meet his eyes, I'll see something that will unravel me further. He's avoiding looking at me, too, his gaze fixed on some distant point, his usual easy demeanor replaced by an uneasy stillness. It's as if he's trying to fade into the background, to pretend he's not part of this fracture, but I feel his discomfort like it's my own. The three of us stand there, caught in a triangle of unspoken truths, and I realize with a sickening clarity that Thomas knows. Not because he saw anything, he didn't turn around, didn't as the drone disappears into the distant gray. I feel the weight of this moment settle into my bones, heavier than the concrete beneath my feet. We don't speak, not a single word, as we start to pack up the gear. The silence between us is a living thing, thick and oppressive, wrapping around me like a shroud. I kneel beside Thomas, gathering up the spare batteries and cables, my hands moving on autopilot, while my mind churns with 1,000 unsaid things. The clink of metal against metal as we stow the equipment is the only sound, sharper than it should be against the dying howl of the wind. Thomas doesn't look at me, not once. His focus locked on the task at hand, his face a mask I can't read. Jesse keeps his distance, folding up a tripod with quick, jerky movements, like he's eager to be done with this, to escape the suffocating tension that swallowed us whole. The camaraderie we had earlier, the easy banter and shared purpose, it's gone, evaporated like mist under a harsh sun. What's left is a void, cold and unyielding, and I don't know if we'll ever find our way back to what we were. We make our way to the stairwell, the descent from the roof feeling like a journey into something darker, something I can't name. Each step I take is heavier than the last, my knees aching not just from the climb but from the burden I'm carrying inside. Thomas is ahead of me, his boots echoing on the metal stairs, a steady, unhurried rhythm that feels like a rebuke. He doesn't turn back to check if I'm keeping up, doesn't offer a hand or a word of encouragement like he might have on another day. His silence cuts deeper than any accusation could, a blade that slices through the fragile threads holding me together. Behind me, Jesse lags, his footsteps uneven, like he's dragging his own weight of guilt or regret or whatever it is he's feeling. I don't look back at him, don't dare to, because I'm afraid of what I might see in his face, or what he might see in mine. The narrow stairwell feels like it's closing in, the cold walls pressing against me, the air stale and thick with everything we're not saying. When we finally reach the ground, the city greets us with its familiar chaos, horns blaring, voices shouting, the endless hum of life that doesn't care about the fractures in ours. I stand there for a moment, catching my breath, the pavement under my feet feeling strangely unsteady after the heights we've just left behind. I watch as Thomas loads the equipment into the back of the car, his movements mechanical, precise, like he's a machine himself, stripped of emotion. His face is closed off, a fortress I can't breach, and I don't even try. I don't ask for forgiveness, Don't beg for understanding, because I'm not sure I deserve it. I've crossed a line up there on that rooftop, stepped into a place I can't come back from, and the cost of that choice is written in the rigid set of his shoulders, in the way he avoids my gaze like I'm a stranger he doesn't recognize. Standing there watching him, my mind drifts back to that moment with Jesse, to the forbidden thrill of his touch, the heat of his breath against my skin. I can still feel the ghost of it, a memory that lingers like a bruise, tender and raw. And as much as it shames me to admit it, even now, with Thomas's silence carving a chasm between us, I can't say I regret it. There was something in that fleeting, reckless instant, a spark, a rush of being seen, of being wanted, that I hadn't felt in years. I liked it, craved it even, and that truth sits heavy in my chest, a weight I can't shake off. I've spent decades building a life with Thomas, a sturdy, predictable thing. But in that one moment, I let myself want something else, something dangerous and alive. And now, I'm left to carry the consequences, to feel the sharpness of Thomas's quiet judgment, to wonder if the price of my fleeting desire was worth the unraveling of the life we had so carefully woven together. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.